I've always loved marriage and what I believe it stood for. But in creating this study, I gained a new perspective on marriage. To learn and see marriage through God's eyes allowed me to fall in love with God's version of marriage, what it should be, what it should look like. Godly marriage isn't the same as worldly marriage. God created marriage, so we should live within the guidelines He laid out for us. In the Bible, all we have to do is open it up and learn exactly what God desires for you as a husband and a wife. Any relationship worth having may have some tough moments. Trying to live and coexist with someone who is usually the opposite of you is tough. And that's why we need God. Marriage with God has many tough moments, so I don't even want to imagine what marriage without God looks like. This week, I want you to ask yourself, have I really invited God into my marriage? You may have invited Him into your life, but not your marriage. And if you haven't, I implore you to take that step soon. Sit down with your spouse and tell God He's welcomed, and ask Him to move in your life in such a way that blows your mind. If you're doing this study without your spouse, or if they're not where you are in your walk with Christ, then you invite God into your marriage and you pray for your spouse daily. Don't just pray for your spouse and hope that God moves. Pray and expect God to move. Hebrews 4:16 tells us, "Come boldly to the throne of our gracious God. There we will receive His mercy and find grace to help us when we need it the most." We are instructed to go boldly, which means to go to God expecting, not hoping. Remember, God did not give you a spirit of timidity, but of power. So don't use a timid spirit in communicating with Him. Now, still have respect when you communicate with God, but have confidence, knowing that God can do anything. As you grow closer to your spouse and God, don't be surprised if the enemy begins to attack. Maybe even more than before. But don't be afraid, because God's power is made perfect in your weakness. It may not make sense, but you don't have to understand to obey. We tend to treat God like He's our genie in a bottle and He's just supposed to grant our every wish, when in reality, we were put on earth to, in essence, grant His every wish, right? To build His kingdom. But we act as if He's supposed to build ours. So I want you to focus on how you can build His kingdom and honor Him this week. It may be as simple as making yourself better, because if you're better, then your family's better and His kingdom is better. So as you begin this study, please don't feel pressured to discuss every question. The point is not to race through the session. The point is to take time to allow God to work in your life. So as you go throughout this week, make sure you read next week's lesson in advance, just so you're prepared to discuss it when you arrive at group. And meditate on your meditation verse throughout the week. To biblically meditate means going over it again and again. Joshua 1:8 tells us to study the book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. So my hope is that by you meditating on this verse, you would memorize it and apply it to your life. So have fun discussing, and let's begin.